That is our top story this hour. The Gauteng Provincial Government has reached an agreement with the families of Life Esidimeni mental health care users on the processing of financial compensation in line with Justice Moseneke's award. This follows a meeting held in Johannesburg yesterday. This means that claims for financial compensation will be expedited following arbitration proceedings. Letters will be issued informing families on their claims. Families have to appoint one family member to represent them. The Gauteng government will also help the families to obtain medical records of their loved ones, and once the Master of High Court has issued a confirmation letter, the office of the Gauteng Premier will then start making payments. The acting Premier, Panyaza Lisufi, has assured families that the Gauteng Provincial Government would do everything within the law to ensure that the claims are settled expeditiously.
Well, for more on that story, I'm now joined in studio by our own reporter, Manqoba Mchunu. Thanks very much for joining us. You've been following this story. So just to get some clarity for our viewers, there was the group of families of the victims that were party to the inquiry and were given the award in that first wave. There were other victims' families that now have come forward, and those are the ones that are being compensated. Take us through that and what's been happening.
Yes, Peter. In fact, you are correct to say that there's been 134 payments that have been made so far, and those payments relate to those who are part of that arbitration hearing, who attended those proceedings. But of course, you recall that Justice Moseneke was the arbitrator, also made a statement to say that if families, however, come who were not part of the arbitration hearings, they are also entitled to the same payout by the government. So these are now these new families that have come forward to say that we also had relatives who were moved. You recall that about 1,700 of those patients were initially moved from Life Esidimeni to various centers and illegal NGOs. So these families now coming back to say, listen, we're also part of this process. We also want to be compensated. Our loved ones suffered those atrocities equally as the ones, as the families of, as the users that the families were part of that arbitration hearing in the first place.
All right. So what challenges have there been with the Gauteng Health Department and the payment of this award as directed by Justice Moseneke?
You recall, Peter, that when the Justice made this the award, he had said that this needs to be settled by the end of June. And of course, the government then moved to settle those claims of the people that were part of the arbitration hearing. But of course, if people come then after that date and they make new claims, so now starts a new process where they have to be verified. And that's the reason why the Gauteng government says that there's been a delay in this process, because it had promised that it will pay these new claimants by the 10th of December. And that's when we saw some of those claimants going to the Premier's office, marching to the Premier's office, demanding to be paid, saying that the government had failed to honor its promise. They also marched to Luthuli House, asking for the president, who was at the top 6 meeting at Luthuli House, to also intervene in that matter, saying that they feel that the Gauteng government is just not really sticking to its own deadline. So initially, what these families are saying is that they should also be paid, but what the government is saying that it's saying that it needs to first verify whether they're the rightful claimants. So what needs to happen is that they need to undergo a process where they'll be checked whether they do fall under the terms of reference of the arbitration hearing. And secondly, they'll then need to go to court, to the Master of the High Court, to get a document that will clearly stipulate who should be paid. Because one of the reasons that they cited the last time is that some of the families, once the payments were made on the first group, there were some family members that came and lodged disputes saying that that person should have been paid and so forth. So the government is saying that they need to do this first, and then they'll make the payments following that process where the people have been verified. So the agreement I think that they've reached now is on that process of how they're going to move forward now and when exactly they're going to pay.
All right. So has a timeline been set, another date been set for the payments?
Well, Peter, the last time we spoke to government, they said that they don't want to make another deadline because of the previous one and the repercussions that followed with that march that we saw. So at the moment, we don't know what they agreed on. We tried to get contact. I tried to contact some of the family members that are affected, but couldn't reach most of them. So I think they're keeping it hush-hush at this stage. We don't know what exactly they've agreed on, but certainly if the families have reached an agreement with government, it means that they're all on the equal power.
All right, Manqoba, we're going to leave it there, but it does seem that lessons learned from the first wave of payments and the second one, there's consensus between both parties, and it looks like whilst the date is not clear, but certainly the process is probably close to conclusion now. Manqoba, thanks very much indeed for that update. All right, that's where we'll